Hello and welcome. This is James Blanchard Cisneros at your service. Today I'll be reading the May 7th Daily Inspirational Message, the condensed version. It's 2 paragraphs long. Then I'll center myself to a little prayer and then make a couple comments on the message. And if you find the message of use, please be so kind as to like, comment, or share, or even join us as a subscriber. Thank you for that. Here we go. The title. In this world, unlearning is true learning. Paragraph 1. What we will be doing today is unlearning some of the pain, anger, resentment, and suffering that the ego has convinced us are normal parts of our experiences. Love is who we are. Thus, when we spend time aligned with anything other than love's expressions, we're buying into the ego's judgment-centric, fear-based programs as true. Thankfully, as God's creations, we have been gifted free will. So we can unlearn what the ego has taught us. Understanding this, we can now proactively practice taking back control of our own thinking. Today, anytime we're not feeling at peace, joyful, forgiving, compassionate, loving, let that be a sign to us that it is time not to punish self or others, but instead to simply and gently and with grace unlearn what the ego has taught us. Paragraph 2. Today, let us practice unlearning every thought and emotion that is not loving in nature. As we unlearn the ego's programs, we take back control of our own mind. We can do this by setting a goal of unlearning fear and supporting love before every interaction. The situation itself will show us what we need to unlearn and in turn what we need to support. For example, if we're dealing with anxious and stress-filled thoughts, then the moment is asking us to unlearn them, fear, by increasing our level of trust in the divine, which is love. As we do, peace results. Peace is an expression of love. So an alignment with the state of peace shows us that we're aligned with our true self and nature. Now, every situation simply becomes a means to achieve today's goal. To practice unlearning who we are not and align with and become who we came here to be. All right. In this world, unlearning is true learning. Okay. I'm going to make 6 points today that I trust and hope will assist you in applying today's daily inspiration. Point number 1. Imagine there are 2 worlds. Imagine there's heaven, love, oneness, a place where only love exists and where only love is true. We call that heaven or oneness. And imagine a second place, earth, where we have programmed ourselves to believe that there can be an opposite to love. And in this case, we're going to call it fear. And so in point number 1, there's oneness, and there's this earth, which we sometimes refer to as duality, where we actually believe that there's an opposition to love. Okay, that's point number 1. Point number 2, today's point number 2 is recognize anytime we are supporting fear as true. Okay, so in point number 2, all we want to do is practice recognizing when we're seeing fear as true. Simple enough. Point number 3, what is fear? In this case, we're defining fear as any thought or emotion that seems to be in opposition to love. So you can call it a judgment of self or others, anger, resentment, hatred, shame, guilt, anything that's unloving in nature, that's what we refer to as fear-based. So that's point number 3. Recognize the aspects and expressions and reflections of fear. Point number 4, I'm going to divide point number 4 into 3 parts. First, we want to remember that we have free will. Okay, so whenever a fear-based thought comes into your mind, our goal is to unlearn it, correct? So how do we unlearn it? By doing 3 things. A, we recognize it. Okay, this is judgment, this is hatred, this is resentment, this is guilt, this is shame. You recognize it. Perfect. part B of point number 4 is to end your support of it. So how do you end your support of it? By ending the time, focus, and energy that you're dedicating to it. So when, let's say, you're in judgment of self or others or anger, you're not going to continue to dive into that. You're simply going to stop it. Okay? I'm ending my support. I'm not going to dedicate any more of my time, focus, and energy to that anger, to that resentment, to that shame or guilt. And then part C of point number 4 is to practice using their opposite. Okay? So let's say you're angry or resentful. Okay. You recognize it. You stopped putting your time, focus, and energy into those emotions. And in the third part, you use the opposite. You use them as a trigger to remind you to use the opposite. And so instead of anger and resentment, maybe you can use forgiveness and compassion and kindness and understanding. So you use them, but to do their opposite. And that's point number 4C, let's call it. Okay. And point number 5 is when we're aligned unconsciously, as it may be, with those fear-based thoughts, and we want to unlearn them, when we find ourselves stuck in fear or in anger and in hatred and resentment, we're not going to punish ourselves for that, okay? Because the ego will love you to be angry and then judge yourself for being angry. No, we're not going to punish ourselves. We're not going to punish others. What we're going to do is simply use it as a trigger. And again, a trigger to do the opposite. Okay, so in point number 5, we're not punishing ourselves. All we're doing is using those thoughts as a trigger. And a trigger to what? To do the opposite of what the ego is recommending. And then in point number 6 is simply to offer our gratitude to those brothers and sisters who brought up this experience to our self-awareness. And they're helping us practice realizing that we can't unlearn what we no longer want. Why support a thought or an emotion that is not supporting the life you want? We don't need to do that. And our brothers and sisters, through their presence in our experience, are helping us recognize that, you know what? We have free will. We can choose a better, more loving and productive way. And so thank you, brother or sister, for making me angry. Thank you, brother or sister, for making me resentful, because I got to practice realizing I have free will. I don't want to support that anymore. I want to support their opposite. I want to support only my loving nature as true. I want to unlearn everything that I'm not. Today we unlearn everything that we're not. And we practice stopping, putting our focus into what we are not. And the more we practice stopping what we're not, the more we start becoming who we came here to be, who we were created by God to be, who we were created by love to be, the loving light of this world. And we do that by unlearning the programs of this world, the fear-based, judgment-centric programs, by no longer investing our time and energy into them, so that we can come back into alignment with love, with Source, and offer only our loving nature to our brothers and sisters. And the more we support this truth as true, the love in us as true, the more we learn that this is who we truly are. And the more we unlearn this, the lies and the deceptions of the ego's fairy tales and delusions. All right. Thank you very much for your time. I love you very much. If you can be so kind as to like, comment, or share, it would help with the listening process of this video. And it might help somebody unlearn a world they no longer desire and learn who they truly are by doing so. Thank you for your time. I love you very much. And God willing, we'll see each other tomorrow. Peace.